Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I want to thank the witnesses today. General Smith, it's good to see you back, sir. Semper Fi, we're all really glad you're back. By the way, little discussion on 31 amphibs, what you're talking about. Remember, we directed that, so the debate's over, right? That's a congressional direction, so I think it's important. One of the themes from this hearing is the shipbuilding crisis that we are facing. I met with the CRS experts, Congressional Research Service experts, best in government. Some have been doing this for decades. This was a quote from them. "This is the worst position the Navy has been in over the past 40 years for designing, building, maintaining, and crewing ships." That's what the Congressional Research Service experts said. Senator Wicker's already said this is acquisition malpractice. The chairman said it's in disarray. I want to get more to the issue of who's responsible and what should be done to fix it. But let me begin. General Smith, would you agree that as a leader in the Marine Corps, no matter what level you're serving at, accountability and responsibility is a critical component of leadership?
Yes, sir.
So if a Marine platoon commander has a Marine who loses his rifle on an exercise, what typically happens to that Marine platoon commander?
That platoon commander will be relieved.
And that's not a hypothetical issue. In 2020, a battalion commander and a sergeant major were relieved after 2 rifles went missing on a training exercise in Camp Lejeune. Admiral Fanchetti, paragraph 0802 of the Naval Regulations titled Responsibility of a Commanding Officer, says that the responsibility of the commanding officer, his or her command, is absolute. What happens in the Navy if a captain of a warship is asleep in her cabin and an officer standing watch collides with another ship?
Historically, they've been relieved of command.
So that's also not hypothetical. Since 2012, the CEO of the USS Porter, USS Jacksonville, USS Antietam, the USS John McCain, USS Fitzgerald, USS Connecticut have all been relieved. Mr. Secretary, Congress under Title X has given you the direction to, among other things, oversee the construction of outfitting and repairing of naval ships in an effective and timely manner. One thing that I think hasn't been brought up here is my assessment, respectfully, of your tenure is you haven't been focused on that. One of the things you've actually been focused on a lot on is climate change, where in your nomination hearing, you devoted a full paragraph on climate change. You never mentioned shipbuilding lethality or war fighting. In your strategic guidance you issued to your department, you mentioned climate change 9 times. You don't address the size of trying to increase the fleet. You got to this committee, your climate action plan a year before your shipbuilding plan. Where can you point to your Title X responsibilities for climate change, Mr. Secretary?
Senator, I spend 75% of my time on shipbuilding, so I don't agree with your characterization.
Can you answer my question? Where's your Title X responsibilities on climate change?
On climate change, it actually impacts everything, Senator. It impacts
Where are your Title X responsibilities that we gave you?
manning, equipment, training, sustaining.
They don't exist.
You can't, no, they do exist, Senator. I disagree
No, I'm
with you.
looking at Title X right now.
And I'm telling you that climate change and the impact that it
Not
has
in
on
it, Mr.
installation readiness
Secretary.
actually
Hey,
has an
I
impact
need
on
you
our
to
combat
just-
readiness.
I'm actually trying to ask questions.
Well, to suggest that climate change does not have an impact on
I'm not
combat
saying-
readiness and
I'm
installation
saying-
readiness is, it's just
I
not
would
correct.
ask the senator.
I'm
to-
asking for a little more time here, actually.
Senator, you usually have a little more time. Let's first ask the question.
Okay, well, let me answer the question I
Allow
asked the
the
Secretary.
secretary to answer.
No, I'm going to answer it for him. It's not in Title X. There's nothing on climate change in Title X. The shipbuilding crisis that we have right now is not just a fiasco, it's amplified by this. Our main adversary, who's building ships at the rapid rate. In 2021, the PLA had 341 ships. This year, they have 370. In 2025, they will have 395. By 2030, they will have 435 ships, 141 more ships than we have. Our fleet, as we've discussed, is shrinking. So, Ms. Secretary, I'm going to ask this final question. Marines and sailors that you lead have a strong culture of responsibility and accountability. In light of that, I feel compelled to ask, if a Marine platoon commander gets relieved because one of his Marines loses a rifle, and a Navy captain gets relieved because his crew hits another ship while the captain is asleep, should the Secretary of the Navy be relieved or resign for failing on his number one mission, shipbuilding, particularly when he is spending so much time on issues that are not even part of his Title X responsibility?
Actually, a good leader, what they do is they actually take assessment of the conditions that exist when one comes in. And you know well, Senator, that the acquisition issues that we're dealing with go back decades. What I'm trying to do and have been doing from the day that I became secretary was to be honest, transparent, and deeply committed to turning things around. And that's exactly what I've done.
Let me ask one
The
final
ships
question.
that
No,
fit